Avoidance Alliance, take it away.
Thank you. It's a mouthful.
It is.
Whenever I call people, I'm mostly because of the School Avoidance Alliance. It's hard. So yeah, I'm Jayne. Oh yeah, thank you for turning my mic. I was scared to take it to the bathroom. Okay. Oops. So, about 10 or 12 years ago, time flies, I found out that I was a member of a hidden club. I didn't know it existed. I wondered why I had never heard of it before. When I was told about it, I was relieved to know it existed. It wasn't one of these clubs. It wasn't a cool club in New York City. It wasn't one of those private clubs that you want to get into or don't because that's scary and God is all right. I don't know what the heck that is, the Illuminati or Hogwarts, but it wasn't one of those. So the person who told me about the club was this gentleman. And he is a child psychiatrist. And he was the 7th mental health professional that my son had seen at the time. My son was about 12 at that time. And the 3rd psychiatrist. And he was one of those people that come into your life when you're in crisis or a struggle, and they are like they're your savior for that moment. They help bring you to the next step of hope. And that's what he did. And the reason he did that is because he named all my son's problem as school avoidance. Also known as school refusal. My son had been struggling for years with things that I didn't even realize were anxiety, because anxiety was different in kids. And he wouldn't go to school. I'll talk more about that, because that's what school avoidance is. But I really felt like I was alone. So even though I wasn't happy to be a member of this club, because it's not fun, I was happy to know it existed, because maybe I wasn't alone. So my son's story is long. He went through school avoidance for 4 years, but there were some things that happened before, which were signs that I missed and did not understand. These are some of the lowlights quickly. I'm not going to give you the whole story. We've been here for a long time. But this 7 North, that is a psychiatric hospital here in New York. And at one point when my son was, after we met Dr. Silva, my son wasn't leaving his bedroom. He was, I think, in 7th grade. He was like, we gotta get into acute hospitalization. He's not functioning. And wow, as a parent, you know, that's a scary thing to hear, right? Unfortunately, from the people I talk to all the time, it's almost become normalized with us, like the people who are dealing with this, but it is not normal. The word normal. It is scary as hell for a parent, right? So 7 North, that's where my son had to go. And it's scary because they're like, okay, belts, it's really a scary situation for a parent. This map over here, that symbolizes another treatment program my son went to about 3 years after that, or 2 years when he was around 9th grade. Again, not functioning. One day he was back in school a little bit, he came home, he said, or cried, I'm never going back there again. I'm like, wow. It wasn't just like, matter of fact, like, hey, I'm not going. I mean, the kid was struggling, clearly struggling. So we got him into a treatment program called Rogers Behavioral Health, which is one of the few in the country that specializes in severe anxiety disorders, OCD, and school avoidance. And because I couldn't get my son to leave the house, I wasn't sure how am I going to get my kid on a plane, get in a car, a plane. So I had to hire something called crisis transport. Has anyone ever heard of crisis transport? Well, another one of those things you don't ever want to hear about, right? So I hired these guys because I'm a scared mom and they seemed to know what they were talking about. I hired them from Colorado to fly to New Jersey. Dr. Silva said, okay, don't tell your son that they're coming maybe like 2 hours ahead of time or a few hours ahead. And at 2 in the morning they show up. 2 big guys, but they're social workers as well, and they have experience with kids. And they took my son to the airport, to the plane, and brought him to Wisconsin. And me and my husband met them there a few hours later, and we met them at the front door of the Behavioral Health Center treatment program, inpatient. And he said, I would have gone. And I'm like, as a parent, you never know. That's part of the problem. You don't know when they're going to be able to function. The police officer, I love the police. I mean, they take care of us and our families and our livelihood and our life in order. But when your son is dealing with an emotional, or your child emotional breakdown, mental health, you don't want to have them come to your house and they're in a police car, coming in uniform, you see them walking up the stairs to your son's bedroom and trying to, get your son, scaring him, I guess, because the police officer doesn't know what school avoidance is, and that's nothing against them, but they haven't had training on it, or hardly anyone has. So it's scary as hell, that they're coming into your home, one off. This is after my son went to a psychiatric hospital, and I was asking the school district for help. They denied testing my son for psychological and educational evaluations, and in their justification letter, they said going to the psychiatric hospital was a one-off. When I hear that today, is it really a one-off when a kid's in a psychiatric hospital and not functioning? Do you think so? So when I hear that word today, it gets me going. I still cannot look at that lady if I run into her. And smiling and manipulating. One day when the principal or whatever, because I've had many people from the school come into home, got my son to school, and maybe he was in the guidance office of the library. Later in the afternoon, one of the teachers called and said, oh, he was smiling, when all his friends walked by, and he's manipulating you. And I was like, the classic thing where kids don't show their peers in school, or they put on a brave face. Why do they want to let them know they're different or struggling inside? They break down at home. So to hear that, it was just like, they just don't get it, and you feel so alone. So again, that is me. So I founded the School Avoidance Alliance about 10 years ago as a result of the struggles, because boy, it was hell. Seeing your child struggles, not knowing what to do about it, no one else knowing what it is, and if the school doesn't understand and treating it like your child's criminal and you are the worst parent in the world, it is really scary. So I didn't know if I was the only one, and when I started this in 2014, it slowly grew. And this has been going on for a while, School Avoidance, but post-COVID, as you know, now it's become a thing, and we sell professional development to schools and courts and clinicians, and now people are saying, hey, we need your help. Well, I'm happy to help. So in order to let you get educated and help you if you need help, I'm going to talk about understanding school avoidance, truancy, school attendance problems. You're going to hear insights and perspectives from the family and the kids, which is really important to try to put yourself in their mindset when you are working with them and trying to help them. And then what data and background is that you need to unearth. I know we talk about data all the time. And the next session, please come back. We're going to talk about making progress and reintegrating. So thank you for whoever filled out the polls. I really appreciate that. The app itself isn't great. I couldn't get the whole thing. But I asked, when did you first hear about it? And it was awesome that almost 50% of the people, anyone who filled out this poll in the room? Thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it. It's information that we're really not privy to. There's not a lot of research on this, current day research. So that you knew about this, a lot of you, for a while is good. But most people haven't heard about it. It really has not got mainstream coverage, which we're always trying for more and more coverage. And then I asked, how do you find out about it? And these are the answers that you guys gave me. So thank you for that. So what the heck is school avoidance? School avoidance when a child has some severe emotional distress about going to school. It's not just the kid who has a stomach ache, you sit there and feigning a stomach ache, and it's trying to get your child out of bed and then pulling the covers over and screaming like bloody hell, like someone is trying to kill them, or like hiding in the closet. And it's really hard to imagine unless you go through this. Has anyone gone through this? And you don't have to share if you have. And does anyone know anyone who's gone through this? So it's really scary, and you don't know what to do. So usually it's caused, well, I'm going to tell you what it's caused by in a minute, but it could start sporadically. There's usually always predeterminants and signals and signs. Like I missed a lot of signs that led to this. So that's why we need to educate parents. That's really part of the message here today, so they're not blindsided. So school avoidance, the parents, they know where the kids are. The kids are in their house. And the parents, most parents are trying, no parent wants their kids stuck in their house. I mean, most parents don't. I haven't met any that do. And they're either avoiding negative feelings or they're pursuing tangible rewards, which we'll get into. So school attendance problem. School avoidance, school refusal is like the least known school attendance problem. That's why we're trying to shout it out loud. So school avoidance versus truancy. Now, this is posted in a lot of the research. And I really don't, after speaking to kids and families and you all for so many years, I don't believe in these definitions of truancy anymore. But let me just go through this. So school avoidance really is motivated by severe emotional distress. We'll get into the possible causes about that. And the other defining characteristic versus truancy is the parents know where the kids are. And truancy is they're concealing the absence, or the parent doesn't know about it, and they're trying to increase positive feelings, tangible rewards, and the kids are escaping negative feelings when they have school avoidance. But I don't believe that it's surreptitious all the time. And I don't know if it's always motivated by pleasure. And these kids, they still can have anxiety that is causing them to act in a certain way. So I don't agree with this, and if I'm being recorded that this is anyone, I'm sorry, but that's how I feel from all the people I talk to. So school avoidance goes by so many names. Most likely you've heard of school refusal. School phobia is a really antiquated term. If you hear anyone talking about that, please correct them, because that means they haven't read anything current, because that's really old school. It goes by all these other names as well. This just goes to show, this is a chart, and you can't see it, but this is a research study of the terms. So it goes back to 1932, they knew about school avoidance. And the word, what they call it is so cray-cray. In 1939, psychoneurotic type of truancy, stay-at-home neuroses, school phobia in 1941, and people are still calling it stuff today. It's so crazy, right? Mother files, what the? And inappropriate homebound school absence, so really wacky terms. And how we call things and what we name them are really important. That really dictates how we feel. That's why we started using the word school avoidance and go with the trend of some researchers in Europe, because refusal sounds with the connotation that they are refusing and they're obstinate and they're defiant and oppositional. School avoidance facts and misconceptions. So it looks they're completely absent from school, or they can be having trouble going in and out. A lot of the times it's amazingly possible to get them out in the morning, and that's usually a predictor that the family will see signs, the struggles. I mean, there could be struggles going in for days, months, years before the kid is totally absent. So it builds. They'll create reasons why they can't go, but my son was never able to articulate any reason. It was just a reaction of, I'm gonna die. And as a parent, you never know what you're going to get. So after dinner, you start worrying about the next day. And I mean, get the kid to bed because their circadian rhythms are all messed up. If they do go to sleep, are they going to wake up and go to school? When I walk down that hall in the morning and go to his bedroom, is he going to be functioning? Wow, and I speak to parents all the time, and this is a common situation that wreaks havoc on families. This is a study done from Australia, a school that helps kids with school avoidance, and this is a worldwide problem. The Australians, the Dutch, and in the UK, they are really on this problem in terms of the researchers and getting involved with the federal government, the education, and the mental health system. We are behind in America in terms of letting our politicians and our leaders know. I still cannot find a person in the federal government, in the Department of Education, who is in charge of absences or truancy. And when I go to look for my state, people in New Jersey, I keep looking like every few months, forgetting that I couldn't find anyone. There is no one in the Department of Education in charge of that. And I call people because it is decentralized, but still, it's an issue. It's an issue. Oh, right, so this shows that most of these kids have been suffering for a long time. So you'll see this is a study of about 48 kids. 62% of them approximately, it's been going on for more than 1 year, more than 2 years before they got help. Wow, can you imagine how that kid is feeling all these years? No one's saying what's going on, the parents. Wow, that is upsetting, right? These are common misconceptions. As I told you, manipulative. It seems manipulative because their feelings of distress are so strong, they overpower anything that an adult wants them to do. And they are not weak, they are reacting to their thoughts, feelings, and emotions that cause these behaviors. And most of these kids are not defiant. Only a small percentage of kids with school avoidance have oppositional defiance disorder. And it's not dysfunctional families. Now, I know the truancy research shows that it is, and it's parents who maybe aren't involved, but there is no evidence for school avoidance that this is the truth at all. It happens to all kinds of families, all socioeconomic levels. It does not self-correct. It will not. So that's why we tell parents, you gotta get help right away. We tell schools, you gotta get on it right away. Nothing's gonna change. You got to do something and address it. These are common causes associated. I know it's a litany, right? It's like, oh my God, everything. But a lot of it is anxiety disorders, learning differences that might not have, that are undiagnosed. That's a horrible feeling if you're in class and you don't know why your friends are getting it and you just can't grasp it. Wow, that's a horrible feeling. And ADHD, which is oftentimes missed. It sometimes looks like anxiety, and then anxiety looks like ADHD, and other causes. If they are not depressed from the get-go, their school avoidance is going to put them into a depression. And obviously, transitions from one school to the other, that's a big time where kids fall apart, and you start to see it. Death or illness of a parent, obviously. We have a lot of military kids who have issues with this, and we need to help support them as well. And new teachers, toxic teachers, bullying, obviously. Bullying that is not handled to make the child feel safe again. These are other barriers or negative school experiences. So no meaningful or negative relationships with adults in school. That's really the bottom line of almost everything. The connection. Every kid should feel wanted, or someone should have a connection to that kid. There is a superintendent of schools, Dr. Susan Enfield. I think she was in Washington now, she's in Nevada. She has this mandate that every child is known by one person in school that knows their likes, what their interests are, their strengths, and they say hi to them, and they welcome them. I love that program, and I know I've been trying desperately to get a hold of her. She must be like a superstar because I can't reach her. But there are programs like that. I'll try to find them for you, that teach you how to engage and know each child's name for one adult in school. More facts, it's stigmatizing. When we were going through this, I would dodge people. They say, where's Matt? How's Matt? I don't talk to him by name, but it's okay. He's okay. He knows I'm doing this. But they don't understand. I can't get my kid to school. We have our friend Joe, and Joe, I love you, but he send that kid to my house in the morning. I'll get him to school. What is wrong with you? And I was like, that doesn't work. It's not because we are lax parents. And obviously post-COVID. And if you think about it, when we had that downtime during COVID, when we were working from home, we all started to question our work-life balance. Same with kids. Our employers, remember when there was a problem getting enough people to work? Employers had to work extra hard to incentivize us to want to work there and be there and stay there. Our kids are savvy consumers. They are like us. They think like us. They're not. Just because they're in smaller bodies doesn't mean they're not exposed to the world. And they're exposed to more of the world than we ever were, right? Because of social media and everything that they see. So schools need to make believe, and I know this is hard to say because this is a whole shift in mindset, that they have to work hard to make kids want to be there. some more about the school avoidance research, which shows some of the common disorders, and as I said, 50% of the kids were diagnosed with depressive disorders. May be visible only to the parents, and this is big when I talk to our schools, and they say the parents aren't doing anything. And I say, what is your evidence of that? And what I say to them is, realize that this is probably going on for a long time, and you don't know about it until it's crisis. Because parents don't know that there's an inner sanctum of a school, necessarily, most, called the special education department, or there are school psychologists, social workers, counselors there to help. And that's why we ask schools to please be very transparent and open and educate your families about the inner workings of your school district, so they know that you actually want to hear from the get-go that there's an issue and how you can help them. Because by the time it's crisis, the family is fatigued and they're almost like, I am done, they're spent, they feel hopeless and helpless. Soft signs and triggers. One thing I also say to schools is that pay attention and have a protocol for watching parent emails and phone calls to the teachers and know how to escalate them. Because I had to go over all my emails over the years, and it seems like there were 300 of them. Maybe it was only 150. I did try to count one day, but it felt like 150 emails about my son's problems. And I was the one who had to say, hey, there's a problem here. I mean, from the get-go, if someone said, oh, there are a lot of emails coming in from his mom, maybe something's going on. Let's see how we can help. But not until I was crying and begging for help. Now, all school districts are different. So I don't want to say that, they're bad. Some schools are really on this and get it. I feel that a lot of the times it really comes from the leadership in the school district, because they dictate the whole aura and feel and priorities of the school. And I do speak to a lot of teachers who are like, oh my God, we are so lucky, our superintendent, they do this, this, this. Our principal, he does this, this, and this. I also speak to psychologists and social workers who are like, they don't understand, they don't want to give me the money for this, they don't get it, and I understand. So that's why we're here. We're trying hard to get the word out. Parent perspectives and insights. I think we mentioned that. School avoidance disrupts the family. You guys know how the horrible morning time is? Well, it's stressful, getting everyone out the door. That feeling I told you about walking into the bedroom, not knowing what you're going to get. Another layer, and then you have a kid, another child trying to get to school, and this one's having an emotional breakdown. It's a lot to deal with. Lack of parent awareness. We have a private Facebook group of families, and I asked them, this is like 6 months to a year ago, and I said, how many of you heard the term school avoidance or knew your child was dealing with it? And when we were told about it. So most of them had never heard about it before. And then most of them said comments like, it took 6 to 9 months to know that it was a real condition that kids and families deal with. We found out through truancy court. And to this day, no one's told me. One of these comments, someone in the school said, yeah, they're aware of it, and your child's really screwed now. The outcomes for these kids really suck. Truancy letters, they pile up the truancy letters, that when I call schools and they say, oh, we have interventions in place. Well, what are your interventions? We're sending out attendance letters. Let me show you what an attendance letter looks like. Well, this is how parents feel when they get them. It's like you're breaking the law, you can be prosecuted for neglect, your house is in turmoil, we're going to keep reminding you of every letter. I used to get letters and I stopped opening obviously at some point because they become like just wallpaper, garbage. And then when you see all the dates, first it starts with 3 or 4 dates and then it's like 20 dates. It's like, stop sending the letters, we get it. I can't do anything, I'm helpless, I'm hopeless, give me help. What?
It's just their documentation.
I know. Oh, and by the way, please feel free, I forgot to say this, to call out, say, yeah, I agree, yeah, you're wrong, or have any questions. Because wow, what a pleasure to actually talk to real people. It's so hard to be on Zoom with people and not know if they're sleeping or they hate you. So this is some samples of some language in a truancy letter. The people who might be subject to prosecution. The parents or guardians might be infraction. You might go to jail. They'll lose their driver's license. How about this? You need to show up to school with them in 10 class. Well, I can't get my kid to school, so how the hell do I do that? And I'm going to embarrass the kid if I can't get them to school. And mommy's sitting there in the corner with them. Like, who wrote these letters? You know, Jerry Seinfeld said, who are these people? I hope they're not you guys. And the sad fact is that our first-line treatments for anxiety-based school avoidance are cognitive behavioral therapy with exposure therapy. And Dr. Dalton, he is one of our instructors in our professional development, and he's just like a leader and thought leader in school avoidance in our country and around the world, actually. And he said that he really had a hard time saying approximately only 18% of our mental health professionals in the country are trained properly in these techniques. So kids and families constantly feel like something's wrong with them. Sorry, the dog over here. They feel like failures. They go to therapy for a year or two and nothing's changing. Wow, you know, you always say, what is wrong with me? We need to train. We know there's a crisis in America. We just have to keep raising our head, shouting out that we need more training. We need to get more help out there for exposure therapy, which we're going to talk about. Student perspectives. This is a video. I really hope I can get it to show it to you. This was put together by a research team at a university in the Netherlands. And this does a great job of getting you into the head of a kid with school avoidance. Let's see if I can click on this. Oops, sorry, I'm going to go back. And see how that, oh, shit, I'm so sorry, I forgot some of them. Do you guys mind waiting for 1 second? I think it'd be worth it. Is there a free, easy to get on here, or should I just sync up with my hotspot? You're going to make me type in my email address, jayne@schoolavoidance.org. Thank you for your patience. I promise it's going to be awesome. Oh, there you go. It better be good, right? Oh, no. See if I can remember. Is the line one projector or anything? Okay. Oh, well. I'm so sorry. There's my laptop here. Yeah, no. Okay. I'm so sorry. The technology fail is so embarrassing. It's on my website, schoolavoidance.org, and it is powerful. It really gets you. It's really well done. It gets you to the head of school avoidance, and it really will make whoever watches it rethink. What did you say? How many minutes? I'm back. Okay, sorry about that. But sometimes it's hard, or a lot of times kids cannot explain what's going on. Am I on? Yeah. Thanks. And that's something that unfortunately we as adults who are trying to help them might have to just be resigned with. That they can't articulate it, and we're just going to do the best we have to. You will unearth situations why this is happening, but not always. Obviously, a mental health diagnosis or a diagnosed learning difference are huge factors that we need to do more The kids from the research, they discuss barriers. School climate is huge. If you think about it, every school is a microcosm, its own culture and environment. And I have a friend who's a school psychologist. I speak to her all the time, and she's like, schools are built for extroverts. And I'm like, yeah, I guess. You really have to know how to function in that environment and speak up and stand out. And not everyone can do that. We are all so different. When I was a kid, I was an introvert. I didn't know how to advocate for myself. So barriers, teacher relationships, the size of the school, the number of different classes they're required. They perceive a lack of support from their school and teachers. And this is a biggie. Students need teachers and staff to understand that school avoidance, school abuse is real. That is huge. That is like, if they acknowledge that they're talking to a family and a child or a therapist, and they say, wow, we get it, we want to help you. That is half the battle. When I hear parents who've gotten their kids back to school and I say, what was it? And they ask the child, the kid said, they believed me, and they were patient and wanted to help me. And they weren't judging me, blaming me, or threatening me. This is just another video. So school, that is a big answer to where we need to start changing, improving. School avoidance challenges schools. I mean, the mental health crisis in America is challenging schools right now. I mean, it seems like 1/3, the statistics are such that about 1/3 of kids right now are struggling with mental health issues. Wow, so schools are becoming like, they are with our kids every day. They are the ones who can make a difference, and they're the ones who, unfortunately, I know teachers went to school to teach, academics, but they have to morph into a little bit more of the leadership as well. So, early interventions, I'm going to talk about that in my next presentation. Collaboration. So, school avoidance, families who are dealing with, they want help from school. Is there anyone from a school district in here? No? Anyone who's familiar with 504s, IEPs? Okay, awesome. Intervention teams, response intervention teams? Okay. So most schools have what's called a response intervention team. That's the first team that gets involved if there's a behavioral academic issue or a parent brings up an issue. The first time I was desperate for help and crying, I got a letter that said, peer. And I don't, parent doesn't know the inner workings of a school, so I didn't know what I was walking into. I thought maybe I was meeting with the principal or one of his teachers. There were 10 people in the room, and I had no experience. I didn't know what was going on. And I read my statement like I was in court testifying with tears down my eyes. After the meeting, they tried to problem solve and help me. But if they knew about school avoidance, they were educated, they would have been able to help me then and my son. We wouldn't have to go through all the machinations of trying this and trying that and do. If they knew the signs, we all could have worked together right away. What a difference that would have made. It might have saved 4 years of my child's life of feeling horrible and us helpless and hopeless and almost hell-like. The data and the info, we speak about that all the time. Data is not just numbers, it is just collecting all the information, and when dealing with kids with school avoidance, we really need to dig deep. As I said, these are people in the school. When we are going back to help a kid and figure out what's going on, we need to ask these people, was the intervention team involved? If so, what did they do? Really, what did they do? We need to understand that. We can't just say, they tried. Okay, but what did they do? What did work? Or what didn't work? Social workers and school psychologists, if a child already has an individualized education plan, which is an IEP, which is when kids are diagnosed with a mental health, emotional disorder, disability, physical or learning disability, and they get individualized modifications and accommodations to help them access their education. But the problem is a lot of the time, the IEPs or 504s don't mention the attendance problem. So it's all about accommodations and modifications when you're in the building, but not about how to get them back to the building. And back a few years ago when I would speak to schools and parents, the school would be like, You know, you can't get your your child to school, we can't help you until you're at the door. So others, more schools are understanding now that every child is entitled to a free, appropriate public education, which is FAPE. It's under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So if our school can help our child access their education, they are breaking the law, educational disability law. That is another conflicting factor that happens between schools and families all the time. So just again, the information we need. So again, if the child you're dealing with has an IEP already, or a 504, an IEP let's talk about, what are the accommodations? The accommodations are things that help the child access their education, like maybe they need extra time on tests. But an accommodation for a kid with school avoidance should be the ability to start off reintegrating them gradually back to school. So those things we can't ignore those things. So we need to include those things in the plan. And also, when kids have IEPs, they are entitled to services as well. So services can be executive functioning, and we now have schools which we have a master class for parents, which educates them all about school avoidance, and that is like a great first line. Sorry, I'm not trying to stop. It's a first line intervention. If a school sees that something looks like school avoidance and educating the family, that is a service to buy that resource for the family. And if someone gave me that access to experts and telling me what was going on and how to help my kid and how the school should help, I'm going to hug them. Like, oh my God, thank you for telling me this, because otherwise families don't know unless they're, they happen to find our website where someone like you understands and can tell them. The school refusal assessment scale. Laura, who does the screening for you in the truancy program, she told me that she uses this. So the school refusal assessment scale basically helps us weed out the cause function of the school avoidance. So is a child, they are responding to something negatively? Are they avoiding situations? Or are they pursuing tangible rewards? It's a Likert scale. It was designed by Dr. Chris Carney. He's called the guru of the school avoidance. He's at the University of Las Vegas. And he put together this scale, and he revised it with Dr. Anne Marie Albano, and she is one of our experts in our course. And she explains how to use it and interpret it. So avoidance, some examples of it, avoidance and social evaluation, those are some examples. Being on the school bus. I know you told me that transportation is an issue here because there's no school busing for a lot of the kids, so they have to take public transport. So that could be a scary thing for a kid to get on a bus and hope they're going to end up at school. A consideration would be to work with the company that runs the busing in the county, and working with them where they might learn these kids' names, and work and maybe have someone ride the bus with them, because that is a big deal. The time that they leave their house, it's scary. They don't know what they're going to expect. And the public transportation is another area where you don't know exactly what's going to happen. So somehow making the kids feel comfortable on the bus from day one when they start their education, coming to school, would go a long way. I mean, geez, if we can train the bus drivers to, learn the kids' names, to, actually, like the superintendent does, she learns all the kids' names. Wow, what a community building it takes a village way to help our community. Avoid other avoidance of negative affect, tests, performance. Seeking attention, that is usually like separation anxiety. And I'm going to talk about one of the caveats about the school refusal assessment scale is that it needs to be used. What I was saying to Laura is that the schools need to be using this when they see the first signs, because that is when it's at its most effective to tease out the function. What happens is you might not be seeing the kids until 1, 2, 3 years after it's been going on. So the school refusal assessment scale is another pursuing tangible rewards, and Laura said that's the hardest one. it loses its ability to help you and tease out the problem, because what happens is kids who are out of school avoiding negative situations, they start pursuing tangible rewards of being home, because that is their cocoon, their safe place, their bed, that's a reward, sleeping, being able to self-soothe by watching, Netflix. So early interventions, really important. This is the prescriptive CBT for cognitive behavioral therapy solutions for the school avoidance scriptural assessment scale. I think it kind of oversimplifies things, and again, if anyone watches me on video, it's just my personal feeling from what I've heard from parents and schools every day for the past 10 years, and living through it, of course, that establishing routine, geez, you don't think I've tried to establish a routine for a child who's crying and breaking down in the corner? How do you do that? Those are the things we need to teach parents. It's not simple like that. If it was simple, the kid would be going to school. Sorry. And psychoeducation, they all have all the functions. We must educate the family on what's going on and everyone involved in that child's life. So that's why I was saying the functional model of school avoidance is its most helpful at the beginning stages. So again, it needs to be done with the schools, and it's really helpful for you guys to talk to the schools and when they should be doing that. This is a universal screening for depression that anyone can do. I know, like, if you have a friend or a family member, we are not diagnosticians, we're not mental health professionals, but we can help lead someone that tells them they might need help. So I don't know, in New Jersey and New York, where I am, when you go to the doctor's office now, it's a mandate that they go through the screening with you. Do you guys have that? It's really important, and there's a whole movement that schools should be doing this to find out what's going on with kids if they are suffering from depression or anxiety. The problem is, what happens when that happens? What do you do with them because there aren't enough mental health providers? That is the sticker. This is a really great website, by the way. I found it. It is an interactive, clickable questionnaire, and it tallies up the score for you, which is so beautiful and nice and clean to go to. And I didn't know this, that Pfizer, their clinicians and researchers developed these scales, and they're available in 30 different languages from this website through Pfizer. So you can Google, patient health questionnaire, PHQ-9. So this is Dr. Dalton again, and he says that avoidance is the lifeblood of anxiety. So school refusal is the ultimate example of avoiding coping. And that is the bottom line of what's going on. So this is my next presentation. I'm done. I think I'm done early, which is awesome. And please stick around. My next presentation, I'm going to talk about what to do, the steps of getting back into the school building. So thank you. If you have any questions or comments or feelings, please.
Yeah, I do have a question. My name is Elizabeth Ajongo.
I'm so sorry, I can't hear you.
Okay, my name is Elizabeth Ajongo.
Elizabeth, hi.
And Mr. Abdi Mohammed, we are from Omaha. We are running a community agency called Omaha Center for Refugee and Immigrant Services. So our question to you, like a school avoidance, where you know that New Jersey, New York.
Yeah.
How do you do with how do you educate refugees and immigrants to know about this? Because it is a huge problem in Omaha truancy, okay? About that letter. Oppositely, our parents, they need the letter to be with a tough language.
Oh, right.
You're gonna go to jail.
Yeah.
Because where we came from, over there, the school takes care of all of that. They don't even call the parents. They take, But
I know, I want to live where you live.
What we should do, the school should.
Right. So the bottom line is educating people in your community about school avoidance so they know the signs and they can let the school know. And also the schools should be educated as well. And I tell the schools all the time, They need to understand all the different cultures of their school district. And listen, they get it. People call me all the time and say, do you have something for Spanish-speaking people who have just come to the country? We don't know how to help them. I'm trying to find a program. So if you guys have all the programs for, on diversity, on how schools can help all different cultures, it's really important for schools to hear that. So like if you have any information that you want to share with your school district, they would love to learn from you. So you can say, hey, I want to help you. I want to help our community. Let me come in and talk to you and tell you how we feel and how we can work together.
Yeah, I actually work as an interpreter too. I'm a social worker, yes, but I work as an interpreter. Different school districts, we have Millers, we have OPS, we have all of that I'm involved. But as you said earlier, each and every school, you know, they have their own policies, their own model, all of that. Before I worked for this agency, I was with a different agency, and we had a program though that was like intervention. And my staff, one of my staff members that I used to supervise, she was like from the Beast community. She would go to the house and she would wake up the child. You know, let the parents just like, yeah, do your job. And then she would wake up the child, like the child that was sleeping.
Yes.
But it takes time.
We're going to talk about that in the next presentation.
Yes, it takes a long time to do that.
It does. That brings up a really good point.
Thank you.
It takes commitment.
Yes.
Commitment.
Yes.
So obviously I don't want law enforcement involved in any of this. So is there a model city that you'd say has good programs? I mean, I don't think it should be, I think it should be at the schools and have a board that evaluates all of what you're talking about. Is there a city that actually is doing that?
I don't know of one right now. Again, I speak to schools all the time. Anytime I find a school district who's doing the right thing and figured it out, I share it with my community. I do know certain school districts, what happens is they end up building their own internal programs for the school district to handle these kids. And that seems like a really good way. I have a school in New Jersey near me where they have built their own program, and they have a very good success rate of bringing the kids through this program and then reintegrating them back into the school district. They have a very low problem of school avoidance because of this program. So it's you know, community sharing. We're starting a Facebook group, a private group for school professionals to talk and share ideas, but anytime, I don't know of one in particular, but that's why, you know, school avoidance really has not been on the radar until people were forced to look at that because of COVID. So now that it's a crisis, you know, people are scrambling looking for help. So I don't know yet, but it probably is out there.
So when you say they build a school avoidance program, do you have is there a master class?
Oh, the school avoidance program? So yeah, we have a program for parents. It's called the School Avoidance Masterclass for Parents. And it is made up of expert clinicians, psychologists from Columbia University, UCLA, and Dr. Dalton and a few others who are experts in childhood anxiety and school avoidance. And they teach parents strategies, what they can do at home. And they also explain what therapy should look like when your child is going to a therapist to make sure you are not wasting your money on treatment that is not effective. Or you can work with your therapist to do this or get training on it. And the school tell them what they can do. And part of it also is talking about special education and disability law, which is a very big part of it, because these kids are being treated punitively, and they might have a learning difference or a mental health disorder that is undiagnosed. So the parents, there's something you can ask your school to evaluate your child. And a lot of kids need services and help, so it's really hard. So it's important for parents to know their rights. Every child is available, it should be entitled to free, appropriate public education. It's the law. And whenever a parent is dealing with a problem in school like that, I tell them first thing, go to your state and look up the parents' right to special education, parental rights. We have on our website, schoolavoidance.org, we have every state's guide to make it easy for families. And we also, if you have any families who are dealing with this and need to know how to work with your school district, and it explains the RTI team, the IEPs, the 504s, and how the schools can work together with families. We have a free guide on our website. It's called The Ultimate Guide. It's for school avoidance parents, The Ultimate Guide to Working with School, and it's 19 pages of information and content all about special education, disability law through the lens of school avoidance.
Thank you for that. Well, I'm really asking if we have an intervention program, so when we start dealing with the youth, how can we, is there a way for us to build something?
Right. So the first part is getting all the foundational pieces in place, understanding what you're dealing with. So, right, I'm sorry, so we have professional development for educators. It is called Everything it's on my website. You don't have to remember the name. It's called Everything You Need to Know to Get Your Students Back to Learning, Back to School. And it is a 5.5-hour online course. And some of the experts that I mentioned are in this class. And plus, I'm an expert in the class also, and I talk about special education law and prevention strategies, which schools call Tier 1, which is basic culture of the school climate, and we share parent perspectives and child perspectives because it's really important for everyone to understand what they are feeling and get into their mindset, and for schools for parents, schools need to educate families on school capability, because again, they don't know. So if schools knew that, if parents knew there was something called, like if you on the school website had something letting parents know that there's something called school avoidance, and not necessarily on the attendance page, maybe on the mental health page, or anywhere on the school counselors. Again, school counselors, it'd be awesome for them to understand school avoidance and get professional development. That is the first step. Once you understand, you will become an expert on school avoidance, and then you will know there's an intervention roadmap on what steps to take and how to go about helping this child.
I just kind of wanted to say that I was one of the people who had not heard that term before, and I think it would have made a great difference in my life and then like my family's life as well, because I felt like for me and my sister, the school, the process started way too late, and it got to the point where my mom got the final letter. They were sent to county attorney. The judge basically ended up, they put, programs in the home. My mom was told she was negligent, she was all these things, and, it really hurt her, and it, broke her down.
Yeah.
And so then we had services in the home, and then my sister ended up being removed from the home and went to Boys Town.
Oh my gosh.
And so, it uprooted our whole.
Just because of school avoidance?
Yes.
It happens.
I know it happens.
Everything. And so, it just really made sense.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up. It's a very good point. Department of Child and Family Services, whatever they're called in your state, county, they need education on this, because I do work with families sometimes, and then Department of Child and Family is brought into the home. So then there's, not only do you have the school district after you're suffering at home, your child is breaking down emotionally, now you have Department of Child and Family regulating you, watching over you. It's, a lot of parents are almost on the verge of an emotional breakdown when this happens. And geez, if I had that happen, if the Department of Child and Family Services came into my house, and I have a family who they were threatening to take the child out of the house, wow, it is devastating. It gives me chills because it's so scary. So helping spread awareness, please. And if you know anyone who works in Health and Human Services, Department of Child and Families, please make sure they get professional development.
It would be nice if our court system, it was the judge that actually.
And the judge too, the judges, we do educate judges as well.
I just wanted to add one more thing. I didn't know until I just picked this up today, that the mediation center offers an excessive absenteeism conference where it brings everybody together, but it is excessive. So it's still not
You work on
starting in the beginning.
Right, it's happening way too late, and by that time, it's been going for so long. And then also, this is my perspective, I'm not an expert. I'm thinking as a parent here from their perspective. Mediation center sounds like law, problem. You did something wrong. Because that's what we hear people when they go to court to go to mediation is the first step. So just the word is scary to a family dealing with school avoidance.
Do you do any type of training on what I would call some maybe steps when kids are younger, much younger, to create the exposure at an early age so it doesn't get to this extreme? Does that make sense what I'm asking you?
We don't do training, we're not mental health professionals,
Okay.
and I don't know of anything like that. But what's really important, and this is another mantra and dream of mine, that schools start educating kids and families on mental health in elementary school. And cognitive behavioral therapy, I mean, it's all about thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And kids understand we all have self-talk in our head. That's part of cognitive behavioral therapy, automatic negative thoughts. That causes a lot of, our brain is not always telling us the right thing. We might be thinking someone's looking at us and judging us. And that's our thought, but it's our mind playing games on us. And if kids knew that at an early age, it would prevent so much. You know, I think every adult and child should go through cognitive behavioral education in school, not therapy, but just learning your mind and what your mind is saying to you every day. You know, you question yourself. You know, if you're all alone for a few days and you're talking to yourself, you know, God knows what you can drum up in your head.
For the school refusal assessment scale, who typically administers that?
It's clinician usually. So it would be the child's therapist or the school psychologist should be doing that.
Do most schools have access to that, or is that?
It's a universal free screening. We have it on our website, free to access. And if you Google school refusal assessment scale, our website might come up for that, but you'll find it. It's just that schools don't know about it, and again, it must be used at the early stages, otherwise it will not be effective. And it's going to be frustrating because you're laying your hopes that this is going to give me answers, and it might not.
Maybe I'm an anomaly, but
Yeah.
in our world, there's a couple of moms that seem to want to keep, like they're projecting onto their kid or whatever.
That, you know, I went over that, I skipped over that, I'm so sorry.
It's not
Sometimes,
bad.
I don't know, but I forgot to tell you about something called school withdrawal, where the parents want their kid, this might be different from what you're talking about, but they want to take the kids out of school, maybe to watch someone, to be their partner, to be their friend, to go make a living. I hear a lot of parents taking the school kids out for recreational things, to enjoy themselves during the day. That's the parent taking the kid, and that's the parent's situation. It's the child being forced by the parent. When you say parent wants the child at home, I don't know what that is. I mean, if they want the child at home who's having a mental health breakdown, you're saying, it might be because they're scared shitless, because they're scared that the school doesn't know what they're doing, or that they're going to be, you know, charged punitively, and that's why a lot of parents pull their kids out and homeschool them. But if the kid is not able to leave their room or access their education, they might not be able to do it online or at home as well. So kids who are homeschooled, I always say to parents, you know, it might be good for your kid, but your kid has to be the right candidate for it, to be self-driven. And kids who are isolated and have emotional disorder or learning difference aren't all of a sudden going to pop magically and start thriving in a online or home environment. Anything else? All right, well, thank you so much for listening and asking questions.